And now we pass to the really last bit of our session. Still a few contributions, presentations ahead of us, but they're like from a broader perspective. First of all, we wanted somebody to look at us from the outside, at what we are doing. We are always meeting, we are always discussing among ourselves. So we wanted someone from the outside to have a look and to tell us if we are thinking along the right, in the right direction from the perspective, for example, of the cohesion policy and the future cohesion policy. So we have invited our keynote listener, who is Sari Rautio from Finland. She's a member of the Committee of the Regions, and she's a member of the high-level group on the future of cohesion policy. And from that perspective, she has been listening to us the whole day, and she will share some of her comments with us. Please, Sari. Yes, I think that's the best.
Okay, and so this is a very, exciting day and exciting place to be here. You know, the last presentation is always the most difficult one, because after this you will have free time or something else. So, but let's see. It's been really interesting to be here. So, my name is Sari Rautio. I'm coming from Finland, and my city is called the city of Hämeenlinna, which is kind of an exciting city because we do have an urban medieval center, but then we also have very, very wide rural area. And that's why I was very happy when Ursula asked me to join this day with you. And first of all, I would like to say that I've seen today more exciting and enthusiasm than I often see in Brussels. So you ought to clap yourself on the shoulder, because that's something that you should be proud of. And that is something, if you want to achieve something, you have to be interested on the issue. And that is something I've heard today a lot. Can you change the slides there, or how should we do? Or is there some... Oh, it's here. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, what did I hear? Please, it's the first time for me being a keynote listener, so let's see how it goes. Okay, first of all, this is the picture you probably know very well. I just wanted to point out a few things I heard a lot today. The stronger thing is something that was very strongly here. Everyone said things that rural areas should have a stronger role in their states, in their regions, in all Europe. And I think this is something to think about. What can we do in order to make rural areas stronger? And I think what Ursula just said, it's not good if you only talk to each other. You have to take along also the ones who are not normally interested or not normally in these tables. And what I want to say, also coming from, remember that I come from a city that is the urban city, but also the rural area. And it's the same problem in Finland, and at least in my city, it seems to be so that the ones who are in the rural area, they want to keep it for themselves. And we all need to work more together. And that is my first key message. The other thing I heard a lot is connecting. We have to connect, we have to simplify, we have to see all the things that they are going on. We have several, we just heard there is 5,000 different networks only in Sweden and in all around Europe. We do have a lot of networking, which is great. But the other side, the opposite of this is that, do we actually know the big picture? What is everything, all the things that are happening? And then I also wanted to say the digital connectivity. I heard in a few tables and a few discussions about digitalization. We ought to make the best out of the digitalization also in the rural areas. And I think this is something there is a lot to gain. Okay, and then if you go to prosperous, the most important thing when we want to have the prosperous Europe, prosperous regions, prosperous member states, we have to understand that Europe is stronger and prosperous in diversity. One size definitely does not fit all, and that's why we have to have the bottom-up idea and the place-based way to work, which is also the most important thing in the cohesion policy, from my point of view. So, while we were talking a lot, or you were talking a lot about the problems between different levels, it's very important that on the local level, on the rural areas, you know, and they know, and we all know in our own regions, what are the strengths to build on. And then there's the resilience, and that is what I'm always very happy when I join in any discussions here in Brussels. The resilience is really widely understood. We understand that the world is changing. We have to take climate change seriously. We have to take the demographic change seriously. And also the digitalization, we have to take it seriously. And that's how we will be more resilient. Then there are a few things that I pointed out here. Somebody asked, what is actually the Rural Pact? Even though you've been working for a long time with that, there still is so many things that perhaps it would be useful to pick up the few things that are the most important ones, and then to focus on those. That was said many times here. And then somebody said in the other group where I was in, no new groups, more action. More action. So, and I think that is something very important. And then in the middle, the cross-cutting idea. Not only picking up certain pieces, but to see how things are actually connected. Okay, and then I want to show you, this is one of my favorite pictures, which I've been using in my many things that I've been involved with, is about how does the impact and how does the change actually come true. And I just wrote this by myself. You might want to put something else as a goal, but vital, livable, unique rural areas all around Europe. If that is our goal, what we want to achieve, then we need to get all the different resources, and the resources means not only money, but also the competencies, the people. Somebody said, there was the nice wording about Baba, yeah, and then there was the local heroes. And, you know, we ought to see all the possible resources there exists in the area and to make them work with, towards the same goal. To see the activities that need to be done, then find the common solutions, and then there might be the change that will bring the impact, the bigger change we want to achieve. You can have these pictures if you wish later on. And I think we ought to make it visible. When I said that there are so many different networks and so many different stakeholders involved, it's impossible to if somebody comes from the side or somebody new comes, to understand how all the things are connected. So I think the intermediate's most important thing is to draw the picture how everything is combined. And this doesn't mean not just to sit behind the table or the desk, but it's also action. And I think that is something we definitely need to work on. The third big thing there was a lot of discussion about was about governance, and especially about the national government and its role. And it tends to be so that there might be a smaller or perhaps a bigger problem also in connecting all these different levels. We do have rather good things that we've decided together in the European Union level. And then we know on the regional level, we definitely do know our strengths, and we do often know where we want to go. But then sometimes in the middle, in the national government level, there might be some problems to connect. And I think also to draw this might be a way to find the better solutions. And this picture is from our high-level group of the Future of Cohesion Policy report. And yes, you can probably see that it's made from my previous picture. And if you want, you can have the picture and use it yourself, because I think it's kind of flexible and useful when you want to show or plan what you want to do in your own region. And I think it's very important that we definitely also talk about the vertical connection and also, of course, about the horizontal connection and coordination definitely as well. And then there is this voice and participation, which was said also here in the panel about the elections coming, about democracy. You can never, ever leave the voice of people, local people, behind. We have to listen, we have to take it seriously, and we have to show that it matters what the local people think. So this is also some perhaps one way to show that. And my last picture, or not a picture, but slogan I want to say you, is that when there are the people who are excited, when there are people who have the capability, when we have the people who want to share and do together, then it's possible to make the Rural Pact to be real, not just on the paper, but also there where it's meant to be. And remember that none of us can do everything, but everybody can do something. And while we are working together, then we can, well, go to the moon or wherever we want to go. Thank you.
That's really great. Many, many thanks, Sari. That's very helpful. This opening, again, new perspectives, new additional ideas that will guide our future work. Now, because this is more or less the end of the contents part of the event, we would like to know what you think about it. So basically, we would like to have your feedback. And if you go to the same poll as before, or you can connect again. Yeah.
So it's another Slido, so you have to scan this QR code to be able to give us feedback. Or you can join at slido.com and write this code number.
Okay. Yeah, just to say, please fill it. Tell us what you think. We will not necessarily present all the results. We will not manage maybe to present all the results, but we will allow you to continue voting for a while. So for the moment, it takes a while to connect, so probably not.
So yeah, the first question is whether or not you're a member of the Rural Pact community platform. Either you are or not, but you will decide to become a member now, or whether you're not interested, or you might not be sure whether you're a member or not.
Some people may have signed up such a long time ago that you don't even remember.
So it's a good opportunity to double check. Then give us feedback on whether or not you think that this policy lab enables you to exchange and learn from peers. So you can rate from 1 to 4, 1 being the lowest rate and 4 being the highest. Then question is, to what extent this policy lab enabled you to discover inspirational and relevant initiative? Again, rate from 1 to 4, 1 being the lowest grade and 4 being the highest. how would you rate the overall organization and implementation of the policy lab in terms of communication, agenda, moderation, and facilitation? Again, 1 being the lowest and 4 the highest. And then if you have any suggestions to enhance future events, or if you want to outline specific elements that you think were particularly positive.
Yes, and please continue voting. We see only, at the moment, 11 people connected. Some of you may have already filled and disconnect, but please, we want more of your feedback. So continue adding, yeah. It's nice to see that most people are actually already members of the...
Of the it's jumping up and down all the time, so the voting is okay, but
the commentaries are difficult. Well, we will have to see how. Of course, the system is sort of standardized, but maybe there is something we can do to improve it for the next time. Anyway, I think continue voting, and if you can, also add your comments. If not, you can also send your comments to us by email later on. So I think now is the time for my colleague Pascale to just very briefly present the next steps for the Rural Pact and Rural Pact Support Office, and then we will have the closing comments from the Commission.
Is there somebody? Yeah? Okay. So I will do it quickly. All the presentations that have been displayed today, either in the plenary or in the group discussion, will be on the website very soon. Perhaps still this week, as well the participant list to encourage networking, and the video recordings of the plenary session, and we will also prepare a highlights report in the 2 coming weeks. Do not forget this policy briefing that has been presented by Ursula this morning, that helped us to discuss how to identify, develop the key elements to have some Rural Pact at local level. So this is quite important, and that we are going to develop a similar policy briefing at Rural Pact at local level that should be ready in September. In terms of next events that we have planned this year, in terms of policy labs, in terms of good practice webinars, we have this event today, and we are still planning to organize 2 policy labs. It's in September, and in December, 1 online, 1 in person. And probably about the topics, it could be linked in some stages to the open questions that have been mentioned this morning on the long-term vision report by Alexia. But we are still in the process of defining the concept. In terms of good practice webinar, we will have next month a good practice webinar on rural mobility that we are co-organizing with Martanet, who is present today, and as well another session that we are organizing for local action around the Rural Pact in the framework, I mentioned it this morning, in the framework of the European Week of Regions and Cities. Just to remind that we have the Rural Pact Community Platform with more or less 750 members that has been also presented by Alexia Ruby this morning. And again, it has been mentioned several times today, so we invite you so you can be part of our, I would say, activities, to become member and to join the community platform. So you can scan it and That's it, Ursula.
Okay. Many thanks, Pascale. Maybe I just a word of clarification in case some people are confused. So you had heard in the morning that overall the whole community consists of more than 2,000 people, 2,400 something, but only 750 of them are registered on the in participatory platform or platform which allows you to exchange, to become members of groups. So those of you who joined the community a long time ago, not through the platform, they are still welcome to register again to be part of the community in an interactive way. So please do register, do scan those QR codes. All right. And then as a very, very, very last point, sorry to be asking for a bit more patience, but it's very important that we hear at the end from the European Commission, the two directors general that are driving the Rural Pact, DG AGRI and DG REGIO. So we have a duo. I don't know how you want to do it, Antonia and Wallis, one after another, or... Okay, yes. You can also sit here and take turns with the microphones. Yes. Okay.
Wallis, you want to jump? Okay. You see, REGIO and AGRI, after almost 3 years of collaboration, I think you saw this morning in the presentation by my colleague in DG AGRI, Alexia, that a lot, when you put people together, when you have inter-service work, we can deliver. And I am very proud of that. I am Antonia Gámez. I am the chair, head of unit, dealing in DG Agriculture with the difficult task of defending the rural areas all over, not only in my Directorate General, so agriculture is more, and we have still in the title rural development, and I fight for that. This has to remain there, and this is my mantra, don't worry about that. And I counted with the help of Wallis, Vandebrock here in DG REGIO. We co-lead the implementation of all this long-term vision communication, and I think we can be very proud of what we managed to obtain. I am also leading rural EU CAP networks and broadband competent office support. And I think all of them have an important role to play also on rural, on supporting rural, the CAP network and also the broadband competent office network. So all of that for me brings me to the fact that I am glad to be here. I am like Sari Rautio mentioned, I think it is, and I participated to many events already focused on rural, so very enthusiastic, and I think we have all the most relevant voices present today. And I think this is important. It was mentioned by Michael Smith, it has been mentioned by many people. We are living in a very particular moment. Our voices have to be heard, and it is now that we have to be mobilized. Policies have been and are being defined now, and we have to have a rural dimension there. And so if we continue claiming or complaining and don't act, we will lose the train. And that was my first two messages. They are not on my brief, but I just wanted to insist after having been with you the whole day. So I first of all in my brief, and I want to, of course, thanking you all for, because in many also of these events, I see people leaving very early, and it's a pity. I know you have to catch a train, etc., but I really think I want to thank you for the productive discussions, the enthusiastic, the engagement, and also for staying throughout all the day and providing ideas about what challenges, what is really needed, if need be, for implement the idea of the Rural Pact at local level. I heard there is a lot still to do at national level, but we want to focus today on the local level. I heard a lot and fully agree, and it is even already in my ideas and the brief, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are so many good, excellent ideas already in place, and a mechanism and a structure that are functioning well, that perhaps needs an improvement, I'm not talking only about further funding, but certainly we have the mature leader with more than 30 years, for sure, but not covering all. We have lags, for sure. We have the newer and more local smart villages approach that is also functioning. We have seen this morning several presentations from other completely different approaches with thematic or territorial initiatives. The landscape charter implemented by the Priorat region. We have the Italian example of the inner strategy implemented by the LARC in Montagna Appennino, if I pronounce correctly. We have the Living Laboratory in France, the PETR in the Vallée du Loire. Other different approaches, but that can be inspirational. And as Betty mentioned, it was mentioned as well, very much peer-to-peer, best example, how can we really reuse, replicating this good example. So there is many different ideas and projects and structures already there. So the question is, how can we improve or use it better for the purpose? The purpose is really, and I want to repeat, to strengthen these initiatives that exist already, get a full recognition of all of them and by all policy-making actors, and then really improve the mutual learning, connect all the actors, but at all levels of governance. So the idea is really to create a powerful movement to bring all the voices together for creating better perspective for the rural people and communities. This is what we want. This is what is the Rural Pact about, nothing else. We heard today, during the whole day, a lot of your expectations and what the needs are, what improvements are needed for making the EU, but also the national policy framework a better place to enable and support the local action. I have many takeaways. I think they have been repeated by my colleagues. I don't want to be myself repeating, but of course, many voices about the needs for technical support, many voices about capacity building, peer-to-peer, simplification, many voices about more involvement from a national level, the gap that exists in implementing the Rural Pact, in creating a rural agenda, similar to the urban agenda. It was mentioned, really no need, and I'm repeating, no needs for more new overlapping structures, but really mapping what exists and see what is needed still to improve with what exists, further networking. So many takes away. I heard it will end in the desk of an official. Well, it will come, and I think it is the momentum, to the officials, to us, that we need to defend at all levels what we need, and saying that this is coming from the expert for the rural voices. But you have also a responsibility to spread the voice, to make noise, so that we all together succeed, as I repeat myself, in the concrete momentum that we are living, that is key, essential for rural areas. And believe me, it's really now. We will take that on board. No problem, of course, and we will do our part. I invite you to do yours as well. If somebody asks about what future for the Rural Pact, I think, Michael, you also repeat, Michael Smith, well, now the question is what next? In our report presented this morning by Alexia, we already flagged that we really will continue, of course, in consolidating and still improving the Rural Pact, the Rural Action Plan, in supporting the Rural Pact, and we mentioned the list of questions that we, in the report that we published, really were very keen in keeping to structure the debate of the future, even if we are in this momentum where the elections are there and we cannot preempt. You will hear this mantra everywhere. We cannot preempt, okay, but we can identify the needs and we can structure a dialogue and we can launch the discussions. And this is what we are doing. So we will continue implementing the EU Rural Action Plan, for sure. You heard this morning how many diverse actions already has been implemented that concern local. Plenty of them. Alexia, I think, went through in very details. The presentations will be uploaded, you will see, but still, we want to still continue, consolidate, and improve. For the Rural Pact, we will continue facilitating as Commission and facilitating the activities of the Rural Pact, and of course improve the tools that we have already put in place, such as, and it was, I think, a good success, the community platform that helps connecting, exchanging, networking. We will continue with many other actions, and I will list some of them because I think they are relevant for the different discussions. I participated to the debate, identification of needs. I heard that we need to map in, that we need to really exchange best practices. Well, we will continue in this supporting the Rural Pact, working on country pages where we will collect best practices. Okay, they will be published, so country pages to show what is being done successfully by member states that can be inspirational. We will mobilize. We heard also about this is not well known. I think Malta representative mentioned it's not really, Rural Pact is not known anywhere. Okay, we will at our level mobilize the community, and in particular the members of the Rural Pact coordination group and their networks, to raise awareness at national level about this bottom-up approach, about this Rural Pact, about what can be done. We heard the role and importance of peer-to-peer learning and networking. Okay, we will continue cooperating with different EU-level networks and also international networks. We work very closely, because a lot is done on the OECD level with member states on the rural policy aspects. So we continue cooperating at our level, EU level. We cooperate with them, but also with the World Health Organization. So we have to open. I think it was mentioned as well by my predecessor that we need to go out from the usual rural colleagues we like very much. I see many faces, and really, but try to enlarge, and that's enlarge on the importance of the rural voices. So we will continue to do that. I also heard a lot about this gap between EU and regional. So there is a gap in the sense that more can be done at national level. And for that, we will, of course, continue proposing governments to commit further, to act in the Rural Pact context. So all of that for us is important to mention as what do we intend, and more than that, but to show that we continue to support the Rural Pact. There are more, till now we have focused very much on sustaining the national level. More have to be done, no doubt, but we will go, and our priority is to focus more on the local level. And this is what was announced by Pascale about the large conference that we envisage to organize on the spring. Second week of April, more or less. We are more on the logistics, try to find a place. Huh? But more or less, if you want to take note, second week of April next year, a big conference, really focus on local, focus on really what the local level can do for the rural communities development. As we said this morning, for future EU policies, well, ahead of the European elections, a lot of policies being defined these days, a lot of changes might come. So this is why we really wanted to propose questions, to already structure the reflections on the future. What's next? Okay, we managed to do a lot, still a lot to do, but what next? So the questions for reflections that are there. We can still, of course, go out of these questions, but again, I think it is important that we structure the debate, and we have also proposed dates for different events and activities to discuss these questions. Of course, I will leave to my colleague Wallis to elaborate on, for instance, the Cohesion Forum that took place in April, that was already a frame for an event for discussing this future of the rural policies, the rural areas in European policies. On the side of agriculture, some of you were there, I think. That was really last week. We had 2 days of very thought-provoking technical workshop in the context of the future of the CAP. We had 2 days workshops with the title Solidarity and Rural Communities, so contributing to the reflections on what future for the Common Agricultural Policy, what rural development in this future Common Agricultural Policy. We explore there a number of these questions, not all of them. Well, I think that's the events, but the previous questions, we went through some of them, and we discussed in particular the diversity of rural areas. We discussed the need for very targeted and tailored approach, and what consider the audience were the main instrument to address those needs. We will continue this conversation in 2 rural Pact policy labs that are scheduled, one in September and another in December. We will focus on the questions, different type of questions, but really on these questions that we identified in the report. We will, of course, have this Spring Pact conference as well that will contribute to these discussions as well for the future. And we have a lot of UCAP network, as I mentioned before, activities that will, of course, also contribute to the discussions and to really see how can we define the future of rural policy. We also have, of course, the ongoing strategic dialogue where we have representatives. Not so many, but representatives of the rural voices present. I can assure you they are there with Van der Leyen strategic dialogue guided discussions. So, some of you said, and what are perhaps our role in all this? Well, I think first, please, I invite you to join us for all these discussions. And the main, I think, step is join the Rural Pact community. And like this, you will be immediately informed of all these events. When do they take place? Can I subscribe? It's the best way. And so it's really a formal invitation to join us and to try helping building the rural voices and contribute to the process of discussions. This is the time we are changing policies. The best way for us to get involved is really being part of the Rural Pact community. I think everybody here, and I will stop. Yeah, I see people looking at the watch. Okay. So I don't think I need to convince anyone here about the fact that rural areas are the future. We tend to see rural areas and the problems are really problems, challenges. We are the future. We are part of the solutions to the main challenges that Europe is facing. And so I think we have to change our vision and really, we are really part of the solution. I am sure most of you are with me that this is the dialectic that we have to really have ourselves first. And so we have, and many people have heard in the recent Enrico Letta report on the future of the single market that was just published in April. This very nice term, I think, we should guarantee that people have the right to stay in rural areas. I will add to that right to stay quote, that people have also the right to say and to have a say in the proposed ways forward, in the proposed new policies, and you are crucial for that. So I invite you to really contribute to that raising the voice of rural areas and that we are heard. With that, I think I will stop. If not, Wallis will kill me. So I used before leaving, because I suppose I will not have the opportunity afterwards, to thank you again for being here, contributing to the discussions. The Rural Pact Support Office, the colleagues that are really taking on board the organization of this event, TIPIC team for the logistic. I think they organized our lunch, our coffees, and the hotel I think it was well done. All the speakers, panelists, etc., and my team, of course, and most important, you yourself. So thank you very much for being with us. It's not the end, it's just the beginning. It's an important beginning because really we have to act now. And Wallis, I think the floor is yours. Have a safe journey home and see you soon in the next event for sure. Thank you very much. Wallis.
Well, good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Wallis-Goëlen Vandebrock, and I'm currently Senior Advisor to the Deputy Director General of DG REGIO, where I'm responsible for overall urban and territorial development. I'm also head of the DG REGIO project group in charge of the long-term vision for rural areas because of the work I did before as head of the unit in charge of urban and territorial development in REGIO. First of all, I would like to join Antonia in thanking you, in thanking the LTVRA team for this great day, which was indeed very exciting. I think I have taken not less than 15 pages of notes, so you were indeed very inspiring when it comes to the future, and I would like to congratulate you for that. And I do believe very sincerely that today has demonstrated that the local level matters more than ever, and there are multiple ways to implement the Rural Pact at local level. I will try to remain as brief as possible because I do understand that I'm the last obstacle between you and freedom. And I apologize for that. But among the takeaways, the many takeaways of this day, I mean, there are three of them which, in my own perspective and according to my personal experience, are extremely important. First of all, community empowerment, helping people to take their own future in their own hands. And there we have to help to contribute organizing rural communities to organize themselves. And this is something which was extremely well understood, by the way, by Vice President Switcha when we initiated the LTVRA initiative. Second takeaway, we need to help our rural areas to help themselves in dealing with the many transitions that they are currently facing and that they have to process at the local level. This is absolutely essential, and there one of the solutions is to support our rural areas with the setting up of integrated development approaches. And this is precisely what is at the core of the LTVRA and what is embedded in territorial cohesion and our territorial policy. And my last point relates to the fundamental question which was raised today. What can the Rural Pact bring to the local level? What does it mean to the local level itself? This is something which I'm going to experiment in the years to come because I'm going to retire end of June. I will go back to my village in Auvergne, which is a mountainous area in the center of France, and there we are trying to revive the village. So perhaps in 1 or 2 years' time I will come back to tell you what I experimented at ground level. But we need to think about that. You, the members of the Rural Pact, as well as the LTVRA team, we need to put black and white what it means, this Rural Pact, for the local level, what it can bring, for instance, to the rural citizens and to the rural local authorities, to the rural mayors in particular, who are indeed drivers when it comes to the development of rural areas. Now, when it comes to elements of the future, as we discussed last week in the workshop which Antonia referred to, our rural areas are very diverse and they actually face complex territorial development paths. Thus, it is critical to have good and granular data to grasp this diversity and the reality of these diversities, and of course to understand the very diverse needs and act accordingly. Action was one of your very key words today. And this is what we want to take. We want to take actions together with you. And this is of utmost importance, of course, for the local level. And this is why we will keep investing in territorial evidence as provided by the EU Rural Observatory, my DG being funding this rural observatory, and we are funding it together with DG AGRI, of course. And we will continue producing analytical papers that help enlighten us, all of us, on the challenges and, most importantly, the opportunities which are arising in terms of rural development. The next analysis in the context of the Rural Observatory will be about energy poverty and housing, and about the links between demography and economic development, two subjects which are of major importance once more for the local level. These data I'm talking about are also very important to carry out territorial impact assessment. That are the tools, this territorial impact assessment, that we use the most to do rural proofing at EU level for the new EU initiatives. And rural proofing altogether has to ensure positive effects also for our rural actors at the local level. And in this respect, I very much welcome the paper which has been delivered by the European Network for Rural Development, one of the networks that you manage, Antonia, when it comes to rural proofing at national and local level. I would encourage you to spread that paper very much because it is really very practical for the local level. And we are also fully on board of the Rural Pact from the REGIO perspective, from our side, because rural areas are part of territorial cohesion. This is as simply as that. Because rural areas are territories of opportunities, which are absolutely essential for the resilience of Europe as a whole, for the future of Europe, and for its democracy, as it was demonstrated by our study and reports on the EU geography of this content. Unfortunately, I do not have enough time to elaborate on this. Now, when it comes to elements on future EU policies post-2027, we are currently facing the end of an EU-level policy cycle, as the mandate of our current college is ending, and we are going through elections on the 9th of June. New political and public policy priorities will, of course, emerge after the EP election, and the next MFF, multi-annual financial framework budget, we don't know yet whether it will still be 7 years or something different, will then be set up, as well as the next package of EU policies for the future. And I would very much like to encourage you to watch developments on that front and eventually to participate in the corresponding debates. And as was already said, in particular by Antonia, we cannot yet preempt the orientations of the future Commission, all the more so when considering the many uncertainties we are going through, be it with the war in Ukraine, the multiple crises which emerge at economic and ecological level, the inflation and so forth, with the very sad news we are facing today. But we are already having also crucial discussion and exchanges of opinion on the cohesion policy side. In this respect, the 9th Cohesion Forum took place on the 11th and 12th of April, if my memory serves me well, and it discussed the 9th Cohesion Report, which was published on the very same day, 28th of March, as the report on the long-term visions for the EU rural areas. This is not a coincidence, it was on purpose, and it demonstrates clearly the link of the LTVRA with territorial cohesion. And this Cohesion Forum was the opportunity to discuss many important aspects for rural development, and it provided some useful elements on the LTVRA question, the LTVRA report 9 questions, which are going to structure the debate from the viewpoint of rural areas when it comes to 27 and beyond. The key point at this moment in time, right now, almost 5 o'clock, we do not yet have answers, but at least we have the right questions for reflection, and we have these questions, these right questions, at the right time. That is to say that our input, your input, is coming in a very timely manner to prepare the post-27 period. This being said, on the REGIO side, we always welcome inputs from stakeholders or institutions, and we are currently awaiting those from the Committee of the Regions on the 9th Cohesion Forum, the 9th Cohesion Report, sorry, and this opinion is to come at the autumn. We are awaiting GAC, General Affairs Council conclusions in June, and so forth. In addition, member states, our member states, are now preparing their formal position papers on the future of Europe, and we recently got the one from the Visegrad Plus country, for instance. So my message to you today is that it is never too late to express your opinion, to express your views, be it through the Rural Pact or as citizens or representatives of your various organizations. Please do not hesitate to express your voice. This is the very purpose of the Rural Pact, to have a mechanism in place at EU level for the European Commission in particular, but the other institutions as well, to keep permanent contact with the rural development actors, stakeholders, citizens, and so forth. All this clearly demonstrate, I believe, that with the EU rural vision, we are now well equipped to spell out policies, development strategies, and public investments adapted to the needs, the challenges, the potentials, and the strengths of the EU rural areas. On top, I am personally confident that our rural communities will take part in the public consultations and engagement actions on future EU policies, be it at sectoral level or when discussing integrated approaches for EU policies. It is indeed absolutely crucial at this moment in time to consider implications for rural areas of future policies in line with the mainstreaming approach of the Commission when it comes to rural development and the rural proofing set up in the long-term visions for EU's rural areas. I would dare to say, to conclude, that it is equally essential to include rural communities in the overall EU policy debate, to inform this debate and further deploy the EU Rural Pact at local level. Action at EU level is undoubtedly strengthening the economic and social fabric of our EU's rural areas. But alone, it is not sufficient. Certainly not sufficient. And that is why it is now absolutely crucial to complement nationwide structural policies with place-based policies. Place-based policies which are very well known to cohesion policy and which in the last programming period, the one in which we are currently at the moment, have been embedded into our policy objective. I'm sure you know about this new cross-cutting policy objective, PO5, which is all about getting Europe closer to citizens. And it is there that we now go, this is something which is brand new under cohesion policy, we now go directly to the local level, to the NUTS 3 level of programming. And this is something which did not exist before. And we do the same when it comes to engaging citizens into the designing of integrated development strategies. This is a precondition for the European Rural Development Fund to finance, to fund rural development and territorial development at large. So those new concepts are there. They are already practical. They are already playing their role. But we need to further develop them, and we need to further reflect on them in the context of the Rural Pact. And my last word will be to say that we should not anymore continue to oppose rural and urban development. This is something which I've heard in many discussions today. This is not at all the point. The point is to go for harmonious territorial development, is to continue growing our polycentric model of development, which is at the core of the strengths of the European Union as a whole. And that is the reason why when we talk about the Rural Pact at local level, and when we talk about our local rural communities, we should not forget to talk as well with small and medium-sized cities, all those cities which act as a hub for services, for instance, for rural areas, or which are dependent on rural areas for their own development. So we have to think in synergetic terms. Thank you very much for your attention.
Many thanks, Antonia, and thanks, Wallis. And this is really the moment to say the last thanks to all of you, also to the people who are still with us in the web streaming and are watching us. Really great, great thanks to the local examples. This is our personal thought. Thanks from the Rural Pact Support Office to the people who brought their own examples, to Sergi and Pere and Edward from Catalonia. And then to Bruno and Karine from France, and to Mirta from Italy, and also the breakout examples. Not everybody has seen them, but to Ruud very much from the Netherlands, to Nevena and Janina from Bulgaria, and to Mathieu from France for the other examples. Really great round of thanks to the panelists who were great, and Sari, who contributed a lot to our thinking.